All right. Well, hello there, everybody. I have a Nintendo Switch 2 here. Finally arrived today, a little bit later than I was expecting. But I just wanted to do a very quick unboxing and kind of walk through of what's in the box so that I can take some time to do an actual review at a later date. But for now, just wanted to kind of walk through. This is the Mario Kart World Bundle version, as you can see, and so the box is pretty simple, but let's get inside and see what's up. Inside you'll see very prominently the Switch itself is right here, and then you have the two Joy-Cons. This is my first time kind of seeing inside the box. I had just cut the tape just to make it easier for the video, but here you can see the device. We'll put that aside for a second. And then the Joy-Cons here, they've got some heft. They have some heft to them. I'll give them that. Very quickly, what else is in the box? Some paraphernalia. Let's go through here. We do have the actual Switch 2 Joy-Con controller holder. We have a power adapter, power cable, and also the dock. The dock itself, which is quite a bit chunkier than I expected it to be, but here it is. One real quick thing that I wanted to kind of talk about is just like what exactly is this channel going to entail. I don't want to go over specs, and I don't want to go into like a lot of details that you can find online from other places. I want to get straight to the point, and I wanted to give you my raw opinion on things. I tend to be kind of opinionated about some things, so we'll see how that goes. But I would hope that my kind of judgment calls on certain things will help you make decisions on whether or not a certain piece of tech is right for you. And so let me just get a couple of things off of the table here, so that we can kind of look at what you're all here to see, which is the Switch itself. And so here you can see, just briefly put this out here. We do have the top side here with an additional USB-C port. It does kind of seem reminiscent of the Steam Deck, which I'll kind of compare the sizes with you with this in a second. And then you have the volume buttons and the power button and the game cart slot. Oh, that's a little bit flimsier than I was hoping it was going to be. The stand, if you push it down on one side, you can see that it's flexing in a weird way, which I hope doesn't mean it. I mean, generally speaking, you're going to want to move this with both sides at the same time. So here we have Joy-Con 1. There's kind of, some heft. And Joy-Con 2. This is my first time. I did not get a chance to go to, I'm sorry, I'm talking away from the microphone. That's not good on me. I never got a chance to go to see the Switch 2 prior to today, so it's kind of interesting to see it in person and being able to experience what will ultimately be probably what I've heard is a very satisfying click. Yeah, I can see that. Okay. So here I'm going to put the Switch 2 next to the Steam Deck, and you can kind of see here the size difference is quite substantial. The Steam Deck ultimately has a smaller screen but a larger body, but that because there's like trackpads and a bunch of different kind of a different layout for the buttons. Steam Deck is more ergonomic to hold with the way that the hand placements, you can palm the hand, what am I trying to say? The controller handles. And that ultimately is just way more comfortable for different kind of size hands, whereas this, the Switch 2 is flat, a la the Switch 1, and so there's no real, nothing to palm, and that's ultimately what's going to make the ergonomics a bit more difficult. Putting this Steam Deck aside for a second, much bigger the Switch 2 is in comparison to the original Switch 1. This is not an OLED version, this is LCD. I did never get a chance to upgrade to the OLED. It was just more expensive and didn't seem justifiable, but here we are. I did say pretty early on that I wouldn't buy a Switch 2 if it didn't come out of the box with OLED screen. The only real reason why I purchased one is because everyone was saying that you don't need the OLED screen. This is a very high quality LCD screen, so I will be the judge of that, and I'll let you know how I feel about it, especially in comparison to the old Switch LCD screen, but also the Steam Deck LCD, which is the other device that I have here. Very quickly though, before we go, I'll put this here. One thing I noticed just in touching the the dock, is how flimsy it feels. Like I was not expecting. I don't know if you can see that there's a lot of flex. I'm not pressing very hard at all. Like I'm really just touching it, just in the process of, grabbing it to lift. You can see how much it's flexing, and I'm not pushing hard on that at all. And here, this back plate doesn't just kind of come open with a hinge. It just completely comes off. I can already tell you I'm not a fan of that, because this is just going to fall off and fall behind the home entertainment console, and it's going to be hard to find, and it's going to be a pain in the ass. But here you have an Ethernet port, an HDMI port, and a USB-C port. There's a little bit of some ventilation for the fan that is built inside. Its construction is quite disappointing, I'm not going to lie. It's pretty flimsy. I was kind of expecting a bit more of a sturdy construction. Oh wow, that took longer than I was hoping to find. How does that feel? I mean, it definitely wobbles in place quite a bit, but that's not terribly different from the old dock. It wiggles so much. Wow. That's not great, and it also kind of moves back and forth in place. I don't know if that's going to mean bad things for how the longevity of the USB port on the bottom. Yeah, I will say that you can't really tell. This looks like pure plastic inside, but it does have this sticky, rubbery feeling to it. So it might be there to protect the screen, but it also will probably collect a lot of dust. Time will tell. So taking a look at the Switch 2 Joy-Con controller, or the holder rather, it's a bit interesting. The way it feels in the hand is not bad. It's very similar to the one with the Switch 1, and the way that it kind of makes it easy to hold the Joy-Cons together. One thing I would say is putting it on is a bit awkward. Taking it off makes sense because you're just going to push the button from the top, and as you're holding onto that top section, it kind of comes off like this. However, I would just say that when you want to put it on, it feels like you want to put it on like you would on the Switch 2 itself, the body. And you just can't because the handles get in the way. And so with the old Switch, you would come in from the top and you would slide it down. So it felt more natural. Here you do still have to go from the top because you just can't access it like this. And you can't come at it from an angle like this. So you do have to kind of just bring it close and let it click in. And it is a bit of a weird distinction. Not a deal breaker by any means, but it's just an interesting observation. You could take them off, and then you want to put them back on. You do have to kind of slide it in a weird way. Doesn't feel as satisfying as it does on the Switch 2 itself. So yeah, that's everything that's in the box. I'm going to run it through its paces, and I'll let you know how it goes. I'm not going to rush the review. You're going to have a lot of people posting a lot of reviews. I don't want to just regurgitate statistics or any kind of information. I just want to give you my raw thoughts, and in order for me to do that, I need some time to play some games. So in the meantime, I say, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. One last thing, I dug a little bit deeper in the box, and I found that I had missed a few things. These are for the Joy-Con. I'm not sure exactly what they're called. However, they're useful for when you want to use them the Joy-Cons as a mouse, because it has nice slick pads on the bottom. So we'll take these out. I love that they're color coded, so you don't have to look into the plus or minus like you had to do with the old Switch 1. They click on pretty easily. They're pretty snug. They don't want to come off that easily. Aha, there you go. Okay, so I think you can push them off with the same mechanism as taking them off the body itself, which is nice. And when you have them on, do the other one real quick. These are really fast. If you know which direction you need to put them on, they're really fast. And they're really kind of snug, and there's no wiggle room at all. And here you have the wrist straps, which are pretty nice. And then you can play on a mouse, especially on a mouse pad. These are really slick. I have no complaints about these. As functionality wise, I don't really see myself playing with as a mouse, to be honest. I may withhold judgment until I get my hands on Metroid Prime. And of course, the other thing I missed in the box was the HDMI cable. Pretty standard stuff.